As you can see from my suit, I am an evil EA Games executive suddenly, and all I care about is money.
As you can see from my casual outfit, I'm just a casual indie dev that just wants to make game as a hobby and have fun.
Now, which one of us is right? That's gonna be the big question we want to answer today. We're not in our usual setup, as you can see, but we're here a few days before Tokyo Game Show, which is a business trip for us. Let's say so, right?
Yeah.
Well, of course, we're in Japan, but it's a mix of business and pleasure. And the question is, we get the insult often of, hey, you're too focused on making money and top 10 tips to make money from your game and whatever. And I just wanted to bring Casual Friday Thomas here with me to have him talk a bit about as well and give some thoughts of, hey, probably business game dev is not for everyone. Hobby game dev is a valid thing as well, but what are some things you need to keep in mind and just give a little bit of our thoughts on that? Because I've been doing it for 2+ years at this point, almost 3. You've been doing game dev as a hobby for
10, 12 years, I don't know,
a
long time.
Yeah, so
it was still called Unity 3D.
Yeah, we definitely still have some hobbiness in us, and I think that's a bit of a question. Give me a very quick rundown, Thomas, so that people know that we're not fake hobbyists.
We're fake devs, but we're not fake hobbyists.
Yeah, like how did you get started?
So in the 3rd grade, we made a project, and we could do it in whatever way we wanted. I wanted to do it in a game way. I decided to download Unity, got started with it. It stuck. Had fun with it, so I kept on making games.
I kind of got roped into it pretty early by you. I never had like my game dev discovery phase all by myself.
Yeah, I can be very convincing.
Very convincing indeed. The question that I had, and I was thinking about this when I wrote this question, when we started working on Forge Industry and we started making this YouTube channel, when did we consider it as a business? Because I don't think like day one, we just wanted to do a fun hobby instead of like only playing League of Legends every day. That was kind of why we started the game. Then we're like, hey, we've got some skills, let's try and make some games. But when did we treat it as a business?
I think it was about the time where you were not having fun anymore at your job.
Maybe,
and you were like, I want to do more YouTube things. And it was like, okay, but if you do more YouTube things, we kind of need to do more game dev things. And especially once William also said, you know what, I'm a follow Marnix's lead, let's go hardcore.
Yeah, and then especially if I wanted to quit my job, it was like, we want to try, have some potential before I actually quit my job and dove head first into it.
I think that's around the time, at least.
Do you think it was a good thing?
It was a bad thing to quit your job.
We say this often.
Yeah, I've said it before. I even told him at the time that I think it's too big of a risk.
Here I am, more than a year later.
Still not earning much. When is the right time? The right time is after you've made $500,000 with your first game and you're like, okay, I have financial stability.
That is probably not you, viewers.
I think releasing before you have some sort of support, either from a publisher or a previous game, is a stupid idea.
Yeah. What about having a long runway?
Long runway, you can risk it. It depends on who you are.
Yeah.
But for example, if you have a mortgage to pay off, I wouldn't do it. But I also wouldn't believe or go into it being like, I just made a demo and I'll now get a publisher. I also think that's unrealistic.
Yeah. What about the different outcomes, of course? Because I think there's also some differences you need to do. If you want to make a game for a hobby, you don't have to care basically about most of the stuff, honestly, that we talk about on this YouTube channel. Because it's like, if you want to, I mean, there's 2 ways. Like, first of all, it's just, I want to make a game because you've played certain games or there's one game you really wanted, but you don't have the assumption that anyone will ever play your game. I think that is the happy but ignorant hobbyist approach. Maybe I offended you, I'm sorry. I think there's a more value still. Like, people are often, why you should care about marketing? I'm just making my dream game. Because I think at the end of the day, it's better if you make an experience that you like, but that 1,000 other people like as well.
Yeah, if you've, like, I remember very fondly the day, like, the first time we entered Gameforce, where it's just like the regular people who got the game into their hands. And it's not like the typical game devs who are like all giving thumbs up all the time because, hey, we got to support each other, right, guys? But actual players.
It feels so great.
Yeah, and seeing like kids being there. Like, I remember very fondly, there was like one guy who was like, I'm playing this. And the rest was like, bro, you coming? We have a
We'll see you in half an hour. Yeah.
It was like,
cancel the meeting.
Yeah, we had a meeting with 4 of us. We were going to play a VR room scale shooter or something like that. And it was like, I'm good, you guys can go. It's like, those feelings are great.
And I think back then we weren't treating it as a business yet. We spent that because it was like 800 euros. We were all like, we'll just spend our own money on it just to be able to have said we've done it. But it was still very much a hobby back then.
And I think making your dream game, first of all, we made a video, don't make your first game shouldn't be your dream game. But if you do it as a hobby, sure, you can do it, go for it. But if you think you're happy with your dream game, imagine how good you will feel if other people, not just you, enjoy your dream game. And I think that's where the true excitement in game dev lies. Yeah.
The thing is, so if you're making your dream game, at least you have the benefit of, okay, I don't have to worry about money because it's a hobby. Yeah. Or like if you're making a hobby game, sorry, not your dream game is probably a hobby game as well. Then the thing is, you can not worry about the money, but you'll notice that certain things will require money still. Like probably you're not a cracked 3D artist or a cracked musician or a cracked programmer. Having money does still help. And I think in general, having a business approach will also help with, hey, marketing the game, making sure that it comes out and everything like that. And hey, if you can earn a few $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 or $500,000 from your dream game, the more the better. Yeah. It's very rare that it happens that you're gonna be a Stardew Valley on like your dream game and it's gonna be like your first hobby project that just like evolved. But it's an approach. Let's talk a bit more about that transition though, because what are some things that you think have changed for us in like our approach when we were just more hobby devs? And then we started going into that more, okay, let's treat it seriously, let's treat it like hardcore. What are like your top 3 things that you will have to change, that we'll have to think about?
I think first of all, the ID is really important.
Yeah.
I think we undervalued the ID when we started games. For example, Ashes of Lara, we never even announced it on here.
No.
Maybe even things like Songs of Everjade, is we took too much time before we failed. First of all, we should fail quicker. And before that even happens, we should have done market research.
Yeah, that's a big one, market research. You guys are often like, hey, how do you do market research? I'm gonna be honest, I have no foolproof approach to doing market research either. It's not just clicking on Gameolytic of like, oh, this genre earned $3 billion, so let me make that same genre. There's more to it. There's also still finding a balance. You wanna make a game that you still like.
Yeah, of course.
I think to a certain degree, yeah, there will be parts maybe where if you wanna treat it as a business, you have to accept that, hey, not everything will be awesome. But that's also gonna be a case if you're making your dream game as a hobbyist, to be honest. I just want you to keep that in mind. But I think certain parts, like you will have to enjoy the core fun of work on your game even. Like I'm wearing this suit right now. I am not actually evil. I cannot force myself to work on a game that like I don't like. Like you can go through it for like a week or whatever, but it will like diminish the amount of love in the game and just all of that.
Especially if you're, like we always say, do a short scope game. If you don't listen to us, you do a long scope and it's a game you don't like, what the hell are you doing, man?
You'll just be miserable for a long time or you'll give up along the way.
Like that's something I really learned with UPT, which was like, I had so much fun developing the game because it was just fun from the first minute I like booted it up with him for the first time. It was like super wonky, didn't work.
Yeah, it's
and
like
it was
you can be like, oh, we took a streamer-based game and we just looked at like the top selling things, but the game, we still had a lot of fun making it. It wasn't just sitting in the suits and being like, yeah, let's just make this because our market research has shown that this is the best conversion.
Yeah, if that was the case, we would have made a 4X game.
Yeah, we would have been miserable for 2 years.
Exactly.
So I think there's definitely still a lot of balance you can find between those two. I think another big difference, of course, that's the elephant in the room, and hobbyists like often don't care about it that much, is if you want to treat it as a business, businesses kind of can't go bankrupt. That's another big one that we need to think about. How did you see that? Like, of course, I know you had more of an outside perspective of how do we earn money, because I do all of the accounting and things like that, and like I'm mainly the person who worries about money, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on this as well, because maybe we should say this, like Thomas and we're like co-founders, whatever. So
I'm his boss. He hates it when I say it, but it's actually true.
Anyway, what are your thoughts on like, because the problem is also when you're just getting started with a business, you're not going to turn profit immediately. Like you're going to get started and you're going to first lose money. And then you hope that slowly you can go back up and that eventually you'll like recoup. But you need to get to that point right now. And it's not always the easiest. How did we approach it when we originally did it? Did we do it well?
No.
Yeah.
We did it horribly. We had basically no income for the first 1.5 years.
Yeah, like but then we were still working on it as a hobby project first. I think we started really caring about the money when Forge Industry released.
Yeah, when it released and it was like, okay, this is never going to turn a good profit.
Yeah, because I had also quit my job like a few months before. I still had a shit ton of run where I was like, we'll get it working, but that's when I realized that, oh, we made $2,000 in like 1.5 years of work. This is not gonna work.
Yeah, I think that was a big turnaround, like turning point, because then it was like, well, we need something, because sure you have some runway, but we can't create Forge Industry 2 in the same, like if we took another 18 months.
And it would make like $4,000. Yeah, it wouldn't be good. But definitely money is something that you need to think about. When that's like, I think the big problem of like, you don't have to worry that much when you do it as a hobby, because often you have another job like that like funds it and whatever. I think once you get the conscious decision of, okay, I want to treat this as a business, I'm going to give a hot take. Your number one priority should be to earn anything of money, basically. So what you hear often is people are like, oh yeah, start a YouTube channel for your own devlog series.
It's horrible return on investment.
But I think still having something, even if it's like outsourcing, just showing and proving to yourself, that's the biggest hurdle, that you can make any kind of money, basically. I think is a very important step already. Once you've shown to yourself, like, hey, I can make $100. Like, it's harder to go from 0 to $100 earned, I think, than from 100 to 1,000 with game dev.
I agree.
Because once you've got that first, you know something that works and you learn a lot. And I think it's a bad idea to wait until your game releases for that.
Yeah, for sure. You need other income streams. For example, we did it with YouTube, Patreon.
Yeah, we have a whole
streaming.
bunch of...
You do coaching calls.
live streaming indeed with donations is I think better than devlogs, to be honest. It still takes a shit ton of time, guys. Don't get me wrong. The live streaming stats we have is just because we had the giant YouTube audience already.
Yeah.
But that took us 2 years to build up.
Yeah, but I think all of that is quite a bad ROE.
Yeah.
You
What
can't
would be
do
a
that
good
day
ROI
one.
then?
I think it's just outsourcing.
Like outsourcing yourself, basically.
Yeah,
like doing it
we hate it, but it's probably the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, it's also not about, hey, I want to do this until the end of time. It's just about proving to yourself I can make some money if need be.
Yeah, you make some money and you also build up like a portfolio. So if you go to a publisher, you can say, I did the art for this game, for example.
And I think, yeah, we have a lot of income streams. I think maybe we even have like too many for you to really be relatable. It's like we have our Twitch, we have our Patreon, we have affiliate links, we have our YouTube AdSense, we have sponsorships, we have our actual game sales.
And still
of
we
course.
barely make any money. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. So we if you're interested in like the full number breakdowns, on our Patreon we make videos every month where we talk about every single euro we've made, like what we spend our money on, what we earn our money on. Like give you a whole like behind the scenes look of everything we spent the money on. I think that could be interesting if you want to take the business more serious. But I think the money mindsets, a lot of game devs hate it. And if that's you, well, you're probably not set out for business.
Yeah.
Maybe another hot take.
Maybe for your hot take, my hot take.
Okay.
And that is, we made this YouTube channel for people who are hobbies to become...
No, we made this YouTube channel to market our game.
Yeah,
that was the original.
That was the original part. But
Yeah.
after that, we decided our audience that we want is people who make hobbyist games. and
Ourselves 6 months before, basically.
they make hobby games, they want to become full-time devs.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is just... We try it, we fail, and you're us from 6 months ago, and you
If
just
we
know you
fail,
don't fail.
that means we can get a great title and 50,000 views, like with the Songs of Everjade,
Yeah.
like final devlog. So we win regardless.
What is Songs of Everjade?
Songs of Nevermade, you mean?
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
My hot take, you need to have a money focus if you want to do game dev. Often you see these brand new studios pop up that are like all focused on like equal revenue shares and whatever. I think sometimes you do need to put on your evil business suit.
Well, not evil business suit, but your business suit.
Yeah. I mean, you can sell coke if you want, but money is
It's
money.
not advice.
But I think at some point you do need to really focus on making the money, and like, yeah, it's going to suck that you can't work on your game, or you kind of have to make some consolidations. But I think if you want to have this as a business, it's still your number one thing. There's also a big difference, I think, between, hey, you pay out only yourself, or in our case, I'm responsible not only for myself, but also for William. And it's like...
And I'm responsible for both of them, because I don't get a wage, they sometimes do.
Yeah, so at that point, you do need to have more of a money-first approach. So,
especially if there's friends. We always say get an accountability partner, but if the accountability partner is also working on the game, remember you have to make twice the amount of money.
yeah. On the other hand, though, it's like, oh yeah, if I work solo, I get 100% of the pie, but the pie will be much smaller most likely. So don't be scared of working with other people, though.
And maybe also as a finisher, this is what we say for full-time. Not everyone should be full-time. If that's not you, it's fine. It's completely fine. Like, for example, William on his own would never be full-time.
Yeah, no, of course not.
No, William, I don't mean it's a bad thing, by the way.
The thing, I think, if you watch this video and you're seething at the mouth of like, these are soulless people, they should go and kill themselves because they only think about the money, then stay a hobbyist, really. Yeah. Just stay a hobbyist, you'll do yourself a big favor. If you're like this and you're like, hey, look, I like the business aspect, I do wanna, it's going to be fucking hard, guys. And you're probably gonna fucking fail. And you just waste 2 years or whatever on like trying to make it work. There is a realistic chance of this. But I still have giant eye bags, but I also still have fun. If you're that like kind of twisted person, I think also something like we're still very young in the game. We didn't mortgage our house or anything. We are more risk tolerant. So then you can do it, but know that, hey, you should treat it as a business if you want to do it as a business. And for a lot of people, you probably shouldn't or don't want to treat it as a business. And then treat it as a hobby and enjoy it like that. But yeah, I'm curious now. I haven't polled our audience in this. Leave us a comment. Are you working on your game as a hobbyist right now? And do you actually want to change that? As in not just like oh, I hope my hobby game makes $1 million and I can do it full time, but actually like, hey, I'm doing this to build up my skills to later on go full-time? Or are you full-time already? How has the experience been for you? Has it been absolutely miserable? Leave a comment down below. I like
Are you Toby Fox watching us and being like, I'm swimming in money, boys. What are you meaning?
If you're swimming in money, once again, on our Patreon, we talk a lot more about like the more in-depth business of like running the studio, making the money and all of that. It could be interesting. But yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well. I hope this video still gave you some knowledge and wisdom. I think it's a very often talked about concept, like, hey, just make good game and make game you would like fun versus make a game that will earn you money. Yeah, there's not always an overlap in that Venn diagram. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.